Welcome to the LTH product briefing. I'm joined today by Chris Hall, CEO and co-founder of GroupView. Chris, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
And GroupView, I should say, is the product. The vendor name is actually Askival. Is that correct?
Askival, but it's a mountain in Scotland, so you're not expected to know how to pronounce it.
Chris, can you tell us a little bit about the background of Askival, but particularly how GroupView came to be?
Sure. So Askival, it's been around quite a long time, quite a few years, and it actually came about via a legal entity management software called Vision, which is used by many companies around the world, like IKEA, for example. But we realized that we had one module in it for producing group structure charts, which aroused a lot of interest. It's really because people said they hadn't seen that functionality anywhere else. And also people were interested in having this functionality, even though they didn't want to take our entity management system because they may have had one already, or they considered their group was too small. They were happy just living with spreadsheets. So yes, it was one part of a bigger system, but it's the part that attracted a lot of interest. So we are concentrating on that, and we've launched it as a separate product, and we're actively developing this.
And GroupView launched a couple of months ago, is that right?
Yeah, a couple of months ago, yes.
And I mean, it's great to see this sort of area around visual structure diagramming and so on is one that has really taken off in the last couple of years.
Yes.
GroupView is a little bit different in the problem that it seeks to solve in some of the use cases. Can you speak a little bit to that?
Yes, so what we wanted to do is to, as well as just produce a structure chart automatically for the whole group, we wanted to make specified charts. For example, you might be highlighting particular countries, different sectors. You wanted to be able to produce these charts very quickly and then having all the coloring done automatically so that it's possible to have what-if scenarios, or just to allow tax or legal experts to just look at their group in different ways, and also to have the ability to produce lots of charts in one go, so that if you want to produce 50 charts, one for each country, then you can just do that very, very quickly. It's important that the system be very responsive. People don't want to have to wait. And also historical charts are very important, and in particular, highlighting differences over time.
Sounds like one of the key differentiators for GroupView is its ability to deal with really complex structures. So very large holdings, perhaps for particularly large corporations, corporate legal departments, corporate tax departments. Is that fair to say?
Yes. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, Chris, let's jump in and take a look.
Okay. So I'm going to share screen. Can you see it?
Yes, I can see it.
Excellent. Okay, so what we've got here, I'm just going to see, is that if you go straight in, you automatically get, I'm just doing an example of like a 200 companies. That'll do for our example database. And then by default, of course, you'll get the entire group structure colored in by country. But then what you might want to do then after that is you just want to highlight a particular country. So if you want to do just France, and you build your charts, then what we try and do is we produce a chart very quickly showing the paths going from a holding company to the French companies.
Sorry to interrupt you, but can I just, for the really complex holding chart that you showed initially, how did that, was that built in here entity by entity, or is that through import of data?
You've got a choice. Many people would just do an import from an Excel spreadsheet, or if you have an API, you can just load it directly from an API web service. That is one part which might have a bit of discussion beforehand, because of course the skeleton of it would be to have the names and the percentages, but often they'll want to have financial information as well. And the spreadsheet might be structured in one or two different ways, but we can handle a wide range of data sources because they're all different, whether it's an API or an Excel spreadsheet, or if they really want to, they could just keep it inside a GroupView in our local database. That's really up to them.
Terrific. So you're able to upload the data in one of those ways, and then it will automatically represent it.
Yeah, some people may want to just keep it in their own external Excel spreadsheets. It's up to them.
Right.
So anyway, so we've got France here. And one challenge that we found, and which we think we do well, of course, is when you have minority shareholdings, because if you look, you've got a path here going from holding. You might have a line going down. I'll actually add another country as well, Italy. And if you look here on the screen, you can see that when you have minority shareholdings, if you look here, you can see that very often you're going to have lots of lines going in from one company to another. There's the spaghetti that I was talking about earlier. And it's quite a challenge to actually actually have the software work out the best way of drawing the minority shareholdings. Sometimes companies will end up owning their own shares. And you normally see with our clients, you'll have some of them which really favor the 100% shareholding. It's where the lawyers have control. And then you get the spaghetti ones where the tax people are more creative. And then you get a situation like this. This is a fictitious group, of course, but this really emulates what we see every day from our clients. So this is France and Italy. So you can see actually that, and this is where it becomes valuable already for transfer pricing specialists, because there's a very good chance that they want to produce a chart just showing two particular countries. Because if the IRS have said, look, we're really interested in what's going on between Germany and France, for example, and there's a good chance they'll actually ask for structure charts showing that. They'll want to have a very hard look because they're always looking for the famous arm's length structures for that.
You can really switch how you represent the data. It's all sitting there in the back end. And then depending on what you want to see or highlight, you're able to change what's shown.
Yes, that's exactly right. So if you look here, for example, at the moment, what's been coloured in so far, it's what's called the target companies, because you've targeted France, Italy and Germany. But we're not colouring in, for example, the non-target companies, because it may well be you really want to just highlight those countries. But if you want to, you can colour in all of them. So when you build your chart, and now you'll actually see every single company that's coloured in. So it's really up to you. When you colour it in, we've coloured by country, but if we go colour by sector, and then of course you see that it's been coloured in with sector coloured in, and you can actually have as many choices as you want. You might have sectors and subsectors, you see, and so you can actually have more than one colour in the thing. We're trying to respond to all the requests that we've been getting, and of course because Group View is a very new product, it's been used now already by the people using it at Group Vision. The conversation is always the same. Wouldn't it be great if? And then, of course, we're all ears. And then we see if we can come up with something neat. Yeah, so this is what we do here. We'll go back to colour by country just to show something for this.
And those fields, Chris, are configurable. Is that right? So when you said you could have as many different ways of colouring as you'd like, you can add fields, so you can add ways of demonstrating or separating the data.
At the moment, we've got a predetermined list of all the different ones that are there at the moment. And we are interested, though, in the idea of really making it open-ended. So at the moment, when somebody says, oh, we need a particular number, for example, to colour by, it might even be a profit or something like that, we're adding it to the list all the time. I would like to make it more open-ended so that they could actually define their own tags, and then that would appear automatically. Yeah, I say we're on a bit of a learning curve ourselves, and we've learned so much just by responding to the requests of our clients. But I was referring to just before about, okay, you can select just certain countries, but let's just say you want to produce charts for every single country, and just before that, of course, one thing you can do is that you can say separate charts for each target. So when we did France, Germany and Italy up to now, of course, we had one chart highlighting those three countries. But now, of course, if you say separate chart for each country and then build your chart, then, of course, what you do is you've got France, Germany and Italy on top of each other. And then, of course, if you do a print preview, they'll want to be able to print one chart you see on each page. That's the way that it's done, either as a PDF or whatever. That's just fairly standard.
And to be able to do that so rapidly is very, I imagine, incredibly useful, especially for companies where they might have holdings in 30 different countries, to be able to just, with one click, create all of those different chart.
Yes, speed really is important, because if you want to do a what if, or you're just brainstorming to yourself, you don't even want to wait 30 seconds or a minute. You just don't have time for that. But just to show you what the speed is like, if you do it in our example, I think we've got about 50 or 60 countries. So if I just do all the different countries now, and then you build your chart. So this will take a bit longer because now it has to go through the entire database producing the charts for all the different countries. But it's done it already. You see? Have you looked there?
Oh, yeah. That's
in an ideal world, you never have to wait more than 2 or 3 seconds. And then this has got a few hundred companies in this structure chart. Once you've got it, then it's very, very easy to do what we did before. It's nice because then you've got a very nice booklet then of one chart per company. And if you've got 50 or 60 pages, and this really took a long time before, so we know that people can save a lot of time here. We're proud of this feature.
And this is really I can see for tax professionals or lawyers in tax would be incredibly helpful.
It was, and even just for the directors, just for the board, people that aren't necessarily specialists, but if you're the managing director of it, it's just nice to be able to see the entire group like this, and not used to having the whole chart, but it's quite hard if you have hundreds of companies on one page. It's nice to just have a book per country to be able to look at it. So it's really appreciated. If ever it's been a few days late producing the book because the data isn't updated, then the person responsible for it gets emails asking where it is. So we know that it's used as a resource, which is nice. Okay, so that's the way
Wonderful.
that it works for the country. So just the last thing, just to carry on, is the differential charts that I was talking about before, just to show you this. So of course, if you got here, by default, it's the current data. That's what people are used to. And then, of course, if you got the situation on the 27th of June 2023, but let's just say you get a very common request, which is to produce, well, we want to see the differences between now and at the beginning of the year. So, of course, you have
Right.
historical charts. So, of course, you just go 2023, and it's a historical chart, and then you build your chart. And when you produce a historical chart, it takes a bit longer to produce, but now it's got the chart now on the 1st of January 2023. But if you look at, I know in advance, I'm telling you that there's one change that has been made over the last year. And if you look at Nacora Italia, I don't know if you can see that, it's where I've got the mouse now. It's a
Yes, I can
100%
see.
held by Multivan International. That's what it used to be. Well, if we go back to the current data, you can see now, if you scroll down, that you can see actually it's changed. It's got an 80% shareholder and a 20% shareholder. Now, that is really difficult to see if you've been just given those two charts. That's what auditors do. They actually look at it and they go with a magnifying glass to check for themselves. But what we can do now is that you have a functional called differential dates. And this means you put both dates in. Hang on, I'll change this back to what it was. It was the 27th. 2023, the differential date. And then what you do is, if you now build your chart, and now what it will do is it'll actually analyze the dates on this situation. And now what you do is you get a pair of charts. And so what this has done is it's shown the changes in the period, the old situation and the new situation. So what it's done is it's realized, and it's colored in red, the shareholdings that have changed. So it's automatically worked out that the old 100%, that's the old situation, has become an 80 and a 20%. But it will also put the companies in between, because of course it's important to actually show these companies as well. And from this, the auditors don't need to look at all the other thousands of companies and percentages, because it's identified what's changed for itself. So it's much more accurate for auditors, or even people wanting to think about restructuring, but it saves a lot of time.
It is obviously a tremendously helpful product, and I'm excited to see where this continues to evolve. So thank you for being with us and for sharing GroupView with us.
Thank you.
And for those watching, we will put a URL at the bottom of the screen that shows you how to reach Chris and see more about GroupView. And thank you all for watching the LTH product briefing.